News Kids on the Block, where we bring to you all the top news updates of the week. Hi, I'm Kavya.
And I'm Trivik. Anya unfortunately could not be with us today as she is off to Manipal. So, hope you're having fun, Anya.
And from COVID updates, we have now moved on, very unfortunately, to monkeypox updates. But you might have heard that monkeypox has now been declared a public health emergency, and it has been spread to at least 75 nations, and there are more than 16,000 reported cases of the virus. This virus was just confined at one point to Africa, and now it's spreading all over the globe. The WHO chief, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, on Saturday said that the World Health Body is now sounding the highest alarm on the monkeypox virus. And he explained 5 main reasons behind the monkeypox virus being declared a public health emergency. And I thought we'd discuss those 5 reasons today. Firstly, he acknowledged that the virus has spread to non-endemic countries, which means it has spread to countries that have not seen the monkeypox virus before. Secondly, he said that there were 3 criteria for a virus being declared a public health emergency, and all 3 of those criteria had been met. He also cited, the third reason he cited was the advice of the emergency committee. When they had met last month, there were only 3,040 cases and only 47 countries had been infected by the virus. And now, within a month, the number has grown 5-fold. It is multiplied rapidly, which shows its danger. The fourth reason he stated, and I quote, he said that scientific principles, evidence, and any other relevant information, which are currently insufficient and leave us with many unknowns. And I think when you aren't very sure about the capabilities of a virus that we are seeing as very dangerous, it's even more scary because you don't know what it can really do. And you'd rather be safe. And the last reason he cited, I quote, to human health, international spread, and the potential for interference with international traffic. And those are the reasons why I have decided that the global monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. So these were the main 5 reasons that he explained were the main reasons behind it being declared an emergency. And I think that obviously we are seeing that it's pretty dangerous. So I think it's important that we take measures to be safe now rather than get into it too deep later. And yeah.
Thank you, Kavya, for that story. We will move into the next story, which is quite an interesting one. As a Russian chess robot has broken a child's finger during a tournament. And this chess robot was playing 3 games at once. It is a highly advanced robot developed in Russia. It broke a 7-year-old boy's finger in a tournament that ended on Thursday in a game of chess. And we all know the saying, chess is a game where you need no violence. But a Russian news outlet Baza has said that the boy suffered a fracture but is otherwise okay. And the robot essentially squeezed the boy's finger, misinterpreting the finger for a chess playing piece, thus ending up in the fracture. I think this is personally not a cool, it's a bit of a cool story regardless of the harm that was caused. We hope sending our best wishes to the boy, hopefully a speedy recovery, but pretty cool story.
Imagine telling people when they ask you how you broke your finger, oh, I just broke by a robot when I was playing chess. Okay, anyways, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're listening to News Kids on the Block. I'm your co-host Trivik, and I'm going to pass it over back to my very short friend for our next story.
Thank you, Trivik. It's a very intriguing story because it's not something I expected to see. It takes place in Kerala, where the Kerala State Commission for Protection of Child Rights on Friday, the 22nd of July, directed the state government to convert all schools that were just boy and girl schools into co-educational institutions from the 2023 to 2024 academic year. Basically, what this means is that it aims to make girls-only schools and boy-only schools a thing of the past and no longer something that exists by the 2023 school year. All the schools that are just boy and just girl schools should be converted into co-ed or mixed schools. That's what the commission is aiming to do. The order came after a petition was filed by Dr. Isaac Paul, who contended that by a school being only boys or only girls or gender-exclusive schools, gender justice was not granted. I quote what he said, "There is no need to teach boys and girls in separate schools in the existing social context. Moreover, the existence of such schools can only be seen as a turning away from advanced education and psychological theories. There is no justification for such schools to exist, and the government should put an end to such an unscientific practice." I think this is pretty interesting because for most of my life, I was in just girls' school. And I recently, in the 7th grade, I moved to a co-ed school. And I think they both obviously are very different experience because when you are with just girls who are a lot more sane and a lot more calm than boys are, it's a completely different experience altogether. And But I also think there's a lot of stuff that you can learn from being in a co-ed school that is very important and will come handy later in life. And I think this is something to think about, because I think when you're with boys or when you're with girls in a school, it helps your social development skills. It can help you later in life. And I think it just, boys and girls bring different perspectives to the table, and it's interesting to learn from one another. So I think we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out.
I do agree with that. It will be interesting to see how they manage co-ed schools and how they manage to, especially since you mentioned they are planning on converting the one gender only schools, the unigender schools. It will be interesting to see how the recruitment works, where how they can get a large number of girls in the school to match the number of boys. Maybe there's an imbalance. I'm not sure. It will be interesting to see how the government handle that. But with no further ado, I will be moving into our next story, which is actually a pretty cool one, as a woman on Twitter has shared a screenshot of a chat message she sent on WhatsApp to her old tuition teacher from the 10th grade. This woman has just passed the 12th grade with good marks and got into the university which she desired. And she went back to her old tuition teacher from the 10th grade, and she messaged her a little paragraph which sort of as this wait. What this woman did was she went back to her tuition teacher from the 10th grade, and this teacher, what the teacher had said was that the woman in the tweet would not have the brains to pass the 12th grade and they would fail the school system. And she went back to this tuition teacher and she basically said it was like a royal, I made it. It's when you go back to those who doubted you, and she proved everyone wrong. In the text message, the woman wrote that, "Hi, ma'am, I was one of your students in 10th grade, the 2019-20 batch. And I'm sending you this message because you told me that I wouldn't make it. You told me that I wouldn't pass school and do what I wanted. You degraded me in every level possible. And today I have passed my 12th grade with good marks and gotten into the university I always wanted. This is not a thank you message, but to show you that I have made it." And it was kind of, I thought this is pretty cool. This is going back to those who doubted you and showing them that you've proved them wrong.
And I think in many ways, maybe she won't say it, but inside she really does thank her teacher, because when someone tells you you can't do something, it only makes you want to do it more and just prove that person wrong. So indirectly, she might be a little grateful. You never know.
I agree. And with that, we will be taking a short break. We'll be back to you after these promos.
Welcome back. You're listening to New Kids on the Block. I'm your co-host Kavya, and I will move us into the next story. So a couple of days ago, on the 26th of July, we celebrated the 23rd annual Kargil Vijay Divas. So this is celebrated every year on the day that India won the Kargil War. And it's celebrated to commemorate the soldiers, the army, and the sacrifices that they made in order for their country and so that their country could succeed. So for those of you who don't know what the Kargil War was, it took place in 1999 when Pakistan crossed the line of control and they invaded some very strategically key mountain peaks in Indian territory. And India's goal was to reclaim that land, basically. And this was the first time that India and Pakistan had come face to face since they both had become nuclear powers. And it was also the last fully blown out war that they've had. So fast forward a bit, India succeeded. They were able to reclaim that land on the 26th of July of 1999. This wasn't obviously an easy task. 674 soldiers died. And I thought it would be interesting to just talk about a couple who stood out when I was doing a bit of research, and I thought their stories were very interesting. The first one is the story of Major Padmapani Acharya. He was a company commander and his group was tasked to recapture a very important position in Tololing. During his fight, he was very badly injured and he eventually succumbed to those injuries and passed away. And at this point, his wife was 6 months pregnant. And right before he died, he wrote a letter to his family that stated, "Combat is an honor of a lifetime and I wouldn't think of anything less. What better way to serve the nation? And I'm proud to be a part of our infantry." I think this is such a beautiful, it's so simple, but it's so beautiful because if you think about it, the soldiers are giving up so much. They are sacrificing so much to come and fight in the army and to serve their country. And the fact that they know they're going in knowing that there are so many risks and there are so many things that could happen to them, but yet that doesn't matter as long as you're helping and you're serving the country. The second story is about Captain Saurabh Kalia. He, along with 5 other soldiers, were captured by the Pakistan army and they were tortured. Their bones were broken, their nose and their lips were cut off, their eyes were punctured. And this was so much pain that they had to endure. But it was just another sacrifice that they made for their country. They were willing to go through all this pain if it was helping the country. And I think this is why the day is celebrated. It's really to commemorate the sacrifices that soldiers like Captain Saurabh Kalia and Major Padmapani Acharya have made for the country.
Yeah, Kavya, we are really grateful for their service, and we at News Kids on the Block thank them wholeheartedly for their contributions. With that, we will be moving into our last story for the day. Guess what's back, everyone? It is Trivik's football segment as the new 22-23 football season gets underway this weekend. Maybe not better than ever, but here we are, the 22-23 season. The Community Shield between Liverpool and Manchester City takes place this Saturday at the King Power Stadium in Leicester. I think it should be a great game. Two good sides to it. Some marquee signings they've made. We'll get to see Erling Haaland play against the Reds. We'll get to see maybe potentially Darwin Nunez, who's had a bit of a rocky start in preseason, also get a chance against City. And I think just overall, it should be a great game. The Community Shield is always a good way to get back into the season. And I personally am definitely looking forward to this game. And I know football fans around the world will also be tuning in. Additionally, there's also the Women's Euros finals this weekend, which will be hosted at Wembley. Which is another big sporting event to look forward to. The finals will be between Germany and England, as Germany won against France 2-1 last night with Alexandra Popp scoring 2 goals.
Thank you, Trivik. That is all we have for you today on News Kids on the Block. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to tune in to us every Friday for our fresh take on the news from across the globe.
You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
We'll see you next week. But till then, do share this episode with your folks. And don't forget to do your homework.